There's probably a lot of LGBT content in this series, but that hasn't been reflected in these 2 episodes yet, which I'll start explaining with many spoilers. In Agatha All Along, they continued with the theme of characters being trapped in TV shows. In Agatha's case, she was stuck in a crime series. Her main inspiration was clearly HBO's Mare of Easttown. In Agatha's story, the crime is that a girl's body was found. We were given clues like the black fingers, the mysterious book used to kill this girl being stolen 3 years ago. What happened 3 years ago? Wandavision. And then there's this section of books that was completely destroyed, with no copies left, a clear reference to the Darkhold and how Wanda destroyed everything. They were making it too obvious that the soil found on the girl's body was from Eastern Europe, and of course, Wanda's ending in Multiverse of Madness happened in Eastern Europe when the whole mountain fell on her. They are confirming that Wanda has indeed passed away. But in the context of the series, Agatha entered this crime show scenario because she realized that Wanda was no longer in this plane, which I suppose ends up being a wake-up call for her that she can now break free from the spell she's been under for the past 3 years. I'm not sure if this also means that the final events of Multiverse of Madness happen days before this series takes place. As this mystery unfolds, a mysterious agent named Rio Vidal appears. Here, Rio plays a role quite similar to Agatha's in Wandavision, while Wanda was trapped in her own trip. But what's interesting to me is the parallel of how Rio and Agnes are dressed, because Agnes is obviously dressed very similarly to Kate Winslet's character in HBO's Mare of Easttown, but less glamorous, unlike Rio, who is fully glammed up. What I'm trying to say with this is that we're finally seeing things from Agatha's point of view. So she's imagining Rio as super beautiful, which means there's something we'll have to discuss later. And the parallels with Wanda don't end there, because we also see that Agnes is suffering from the apparent loss of her son, who we see is named Nicholas Scratch, and we know that Mr. Scratch is also the name of her rabbit. This is diving into Agatha's psyche and giving us, I think, important information, especially about this relationship she has. This might play an important role later on, or it may have already played a role in these 2 episodes. For Agatha to get out of all this, the character played by Joe Locke played a crucial role. We're assuming this character is Billy, so he's Wiccan. But before going into that, this character knows exactly who Agatha is, he's a fan of hers, and he comes to help her regardless of his identity. One of the mysteries of this character is that we don't know what he really wants, how he knows so much, or his purpose in helping Agatha through all this. They left us with that same question because every time Agatha tried to figure out who he was, she stopped listening and everything went silent. Could these be remnants of Wanda's magic or someone else's? We all think he's Billy, but there's a possibility he could be someone else. It's quite evident that Rio's character had something to do with Agatha's awakening. I loved all the references to every era of Wandavision. Seeing each of those costumes again, which somehow became iconic. Interestingly, when Agatha finally snapped out of that trance, she was as God brought her into the world, reborn. The most curious thing is that this whole mystery show was in her mind. Agatha is awake now, but her biggest problem is that Rio is after her to get rid of her. But they clearly suggest that what happened between Rio and Agatha was something much more personal, that something happened between them. I'd even dare to say they were girlfriends. And Agatha can't confront Rio because she has no magic, even her basement wasn't magical at all like we saw in WandaVision, it was just normal. I found the whole 2nd episode about gathering her coven very interesting because she's bringing together her magical friends, and her gay friend. But clearly, each one will play an important role in the witch's path because each has a specific ability that will be necessary for them. It's quite obvious that the missing member of Agatha's coven is Rio because they need green magic, Rio has green magic, and they also mentioned a black heart. Rio said she had a black heart because of Agatha, but Agatha took Mrs. Heart. I'm not complaining because we have Deborah Jo Rupp, who I feel will be like the comedic relief of this series. What's going to be interesting is if the final threat will be Rio or the 7 Witches of Salem, or a combination of both. I liked that it's not trying to connect to the broader MCU world, but rather expanding on what was established in Wandavision. But anyway, that's it for today's video. What did you think of the first 2 episodes of this series?